All right. Well, welcome everybody to our June segment of Lunch with a Doc. And I am super excited to have all you men here for our very special topic of men's health. So you could pat yourselves on the back for being here. I know you might be doing this in respect to Dr. Romeo, but we've got you captured here. And I know you're going to walk away with at least one or two things that will be simple changes to create more health wherever you are in your life. I am Cindy Trow, and I'm so happy to host this. I am a transformational health coach, and I help people create health from the inside out with nutrition and happy lifestyle. And with me today is Dr. Romeo. Soon, Dr. Brian Sanders will be here too, but Dr. Romeo is a doctor of osteopathy, and he is in the Roswell area with Here to Help Urgent Care. And he is always here to help. And his practice goes from 2 to 10 on a daily basis when lots of our doctor's offices are closed. And Dr. Brian Sanders, I see him coming on. Dr. Brian Sanders is a board certified family physician, and his practice listen to me, I got here to help on my mind, but about family medicine is in the Smyrna area, and he has a direct primary care practice, which means you get the tender, loving care that you've always wanted from your doctor, but your doctor didn't have time to give it to you. And the only people making the decisions around your health are Dr. Sanders and you, the patient. So it's a pretty beautiful thing. And it's what every doctor's office should look like. And today we have a special guest, Joe Boone. Joe Boone is a coach, an author, and a speaker, and he has a master's degree in high performance. Am I saying it right? Human performance. And he specializes in sports nutrition, conditioning, and has some new things on the horizon that we'll share another time. But with that being said, I want to welcome you all here. Thank you for being here. This is an interactive conversation. So if you have questions, let us know. If you have something that will add value to our conversation, please raise your hand. We'd love to hear from you. And without further ado, I'm going to start off with Dr. Romeo.
Hey, thank you all for spending lunch with us. I really appreciate it. So typically the way the format works is I go into just some fun facts, some of them not so fun, and basically roll that into where urgent care plays a role. And then my partner, Dr. Sanders, will kind of contribute where primary care plays a role. And we'll kind of talk about how, with Cindy, how you play a role in your own health. I know it's crazy to think that someone actually has to play an active role in their own health, but let's start with some not so fun facts. So a lot of people these days seem to contribute all their health problems to genetics. It seems like, honestly, only about 30% of a man's overall health is determined by genetics. That means 70% is controllable. Now, for some of us, that's not a big deal. For a lot of us, that's scary to think about. That's accountability. That's what can we do? So let's hope we can, in this short talk, figure out some things that will really contribute to healthier lifestyles over time. Let's start with inactivity. Inactive men are 60% more likely to suffer from depression than those who are active. I mean, we've hit this on the head a few times about, circadian rhythm, vitamin D, fresh air. Just movement is the essential element to getting inflammatory factors back into the venous system because it causes muscle contractions necessary. For instance, one little thing that I found was men who climb 50 stairs or walk 5 blocks a day may lower their risk of heart attack by 25%. Just again, something small every day over time. It's a summation effect that can lead to overall health and not just quantity of life, but quality of life. No surprise here. Men who sleep 7 to 8 hours a night have about 60% less risk of fatal heart attacks than those that sleep 5 hours or less. In fact, there's studies done about the time change and heart effects, depression effects. So sleep, circadian rhythm, we figured out there's not enough time in the day, and we're cutting away from our sleep time, which is actually causing us more detrimental effects and even, not just decreased quality of life, but quantity as well. Those who consume 4 to 10 drinks a week at most have a common risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Drinking more than 10 drinks a week almost doubles your risk of type 2 diabetes. I mean, I like a bourbon every now and then, don't get me wrong, but this is something that done every day, again, summation effect and in a negative way. Cindy will talk more about this, but, getting 5 to 7 servings of fruits and veggies, we become, a society of convenience, and we forget, we are what we put in our bodies. And I always want to spend time focusing on this, but I'll let you take over in a little bit, Cindy. So one of the weird things I found were men live at least 9 years in poor health. I mean, that's not just day to day. It can be a period of 9 years over a course of 30 years, but much like we spend sleeping, all that time adds up. 9 years in poor health, and mostly this is preventable by making small lifestyle changes. I mean, these lifestyle choices have a huge impact on risk of chronic disease. A significant percent of the burden of disease has been proven to be preventable by reducing risk factors such as smoking, excessive weight, risky drinking, physical inactivity, and high blood pressure, which does have genetic components, but salt intake, lack of activity, screenings, these are all things that kind of come together. So why do I keep saying screening? So urgent care has actually been a great resource. At the end of the day, it's hard sometimes to sneak in a doctor's appointment. We'll sit there and tell ourselves, I'll get to my health later. I'll get to my health later. Years go by, like I'll make that appointment, and Dr. Sanders will let you know, his model allows for people to make up for appointments, and it's vastly improved his patient's health. But with urgent care, since we're open every day, we're kind of a resource that fits anyone's schedule. And as when a concern arises, let's say you have a friend have an issue and you're like, I need to get screened for that. You have that option now with us. We're happy to screen and interpret results that may lead to getting good people into the right hands sooner when it comes to health risk. And David Capper will attest to this. Good examples are getting a PSA early, or A1C, or lipids, because that can mean, signs of prostate cancer, diabetes, which, a lot of type 2 diabetes can be prevented if caught early enough on and lifestyle changes are effective. And then lipids, I mean, that's a huge indicator of heart risk. So all in all, I mean, where urgent care fits in is screening and getting people information that's undeniable so they can figure out what they want to do with it. And Dr. Sanders, I'm sure you'll emphasize, once we find a problem, primary care is the best place to have someone work with you to a better result.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Rocco, and feel like primary care is a great place to get, typically more chronic disease management, as well as a great opportunity if someone does need more specialized management, in terms of finding the right specialists and helping coordinate that care.
Awesome. Anything else you'd like to add, or Dr. Romeo, are you finished? Or
no, I think this is a good segue into, Joe's emphasis and your emphasis on, how people can contribute to their own health. We're here to help, and Dr. Sanders is here to take you to the next level with your health.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, before we head over to Joe, is there any of you have questions for either Dr. Romeo or Dr. Sanders? No. All right. Well, think about them and we'll come back later. Oh, you do, David?
Yeah, I just have to find the unmute button here somewhere. Okay. So real quick question. So if I wanted to come in and just do blood work and get a PSA test, what is it? What does it entail? And what is the cost and how long does it take?
For me, it's a $99.99 appointment. It's quick in and out. We have a process that allows people to both schedule and walk in at a staggered rate, just to make sure that everyone's time is appreciated, because the more time we can save, the more encouragement we get for people to stop what they're doing, take an hour for themselves, and get seen. And I believe I do a PSA for around $15. And, I can interpret those results. And, if it's elevated, get you in the right hands, someone like, let's say, Dr. Sanders, who can help track it, figure out if it needs specialists, things like that. So an hour of your time and $115 would probably be about the right answer.
As that would just be the PSA, or that gives you a full blood
It's up to
workup?
you. I think basically I can do CBC, A1C, CMP, PSA, TSH, all for about $30.
Okay. Thank you.
It's amazing how affordable healthcare can be if done correctly.
Cool. All right. Joe.
What about, does that include like cholesterol level checks?
So the lipids, yes. So
Okay,
right around
you
like
said that.
$30-$40 ish. Yeah. And like I said, you let me know, I can get good numbers, but even if it's just a quick check-in in between appointments, I mean, it's so affordable. And a lot of people have HSA and FSA debit cards. They work well here. So sometimes just peace of mind, be like, I haven't checked that in a while.
Yeah, well, no, that's
Mhm.
something that I have to, take statins for, but checking it between annual appointments or annual checkups would be beneficial. I just like to know what it is and how I'm doing on it.
It's always good to trend those numbers.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Doc,
I
you're
have a
saying
lot
that's
of,
something that we should be checking at least 2 times a year,
Mhm.
every 6 months. Okay.
And then part of
I
our,
would say it depends on what your clinical status is, right? If you're making adjustments in your lifestyle and you want to see what the impact is, then absolutely. Now, if you have great cholesterol numbers, no worries about diabetes, you're maximizing lifestyle out, I'm not sure you need to get into checking it every quarter. That's not really gonna benefit folks. But I absolutely firmly believe that when people have that affordable, transparent, simple way to trend numbers as they're making changes in their life, which to be honest is the vast majority of us, it really gives you that positive reinforcement to continue with all your gains.
Cool. Anyone else? All right. Well, Joe, it's your turn.
All right, thanks for inviting me. I know this is an important topic and I've got 5 bullets. And because of the time, I'm going to go really quickly, but I'll be honest, I could spend an hour on each one of these bullets. So what I did is just gave some actionable items for each one. And if there's any questions at the end, I'm happy to field those. But what this is really about is testosterone, right? And whether you're male or female, that matters. Because if you look at the female throughout the lifespan, they have less of it anyways. So knowing these things, if you have women in your life, these are habits they also need to implement. So first one I have is morning routine. And if you have a pen and paper, you want to write this stuff down, it's the actual items that matter. But morning routine is important because we're setting the stage for the day. Now, an overall scheme of this is programming in wins, because when you win, you release dopamine. When you release dopamine, you release testosterone. So just kind of manifest an idea in your head. Last time you saw a competition, whether it was national level, local, whatever it is, or you yourself, when you won, how did you feel? When that person won, what did they look like? They were happy, they were excited, they achieved something. So that's testosterone, and in part, that's testosterone. So with that, the actionable item is 3 things. Write down 3 things, either yourself, your clients, your patients, they can do first thing in the morning to win the morning, because that sets the stage for the rest of the day. So second to that is you need to get light exposure to your eyes to stimulate the central nervous system first thing in the day. That preps your day. So 2 actual items for the morning routine. It needs to be at least 3 items that you do first thing, 3 actions. It can be yoga, if you're a believer, reading a verse, your morning exercise routine, whatever your breakfast is, but achievement in those 3 things and believing you're achieving those things. Second is getting sunlight. I know I'm moving quick, so excuse me for doing that. But second, weight training, regular weight training. And I'm not talking about going in and moving through the motions, right? I'm talking about compound movements, talking about barbell movements, anything that's multiple joints and large muscle groups. Essentially what we're looking at is how is the body going to recover, right? If you do single joint exercises, how much muscle did you damage? Because muscle damage is what stimulates the recovery process. A key to that recovery process is testosterone secretion. Testosterone is secreted in pulses. So it depends on the behavior that you have in your life, right? Dr. Romeo talked about, you are a summation of your behaviors. What you look like 10 years from now, or what your health looks like 10 years from now, is a result of your daily habits and actions. So actionable item in there is upper body press, upper body pull of some sort, lower body press, lower body pull of some sort. So that's a squat, a deadlift, a push up at its most simplest form, and a pull up at its most simplest form. Could be any variation of those. Second actionable item, This is for everyone. It has to be intentional exercise. You can't go in and just move through the motions, right? What you put in is what you get out. If you don't reach that threshold of stimulus that the body needs to adapt, you won't see that pulse of testosterone you need within that habit. Number 3, Dr. Romeo talked a little bit about alcohol. So this one is food related. You need to avoid processed foods, processed sugars, added sugars, and then reduce alcohol. Both of those items are detrimental to testosterone production, both in males and females. Just in the exercise context, someone who consumes alcohol, they're in a catabolic state as far as muscle protein synthesis up to 48 hours after consumption of that alcohol. So that's just one example. It also increases estrogen. So that's bad for both males and females. What are the actual items here? Trade out one of the processed foods that you typically buy the next time you go to the grocery store. Action item number 1. Action item number 2, try and stay away from the center of the grocery store. That's where your processed foods are. I don't know if you've noticed, but the outside of the store is where your whole foods are. And action item number 3, drink less. I mean, I know that's kind of one like, well, I want my bourbon, I want my beer, I want my wine, whatever it is. It's a habit it's chronic consumption, right? I mean, I only drink once a month. I still drink. I'm not saying stop completely, but remove the chronic habit of constantly exposing your tissues to that poison, because biologically it is a poison. Number 4, reducing stress. So this one's really easy. It can be a part of your morning habit, or your morning routine. It can be part of your nightly routine, because what it is stretching, mobility, breathing exercises, meditation, any form of those. You can have your own, right? I'm just providing these examples, but that's something that those can be added into one, right? Those can all be one thing. And this moves into my final point, which is getting quality sleep. So how do you get quality sleep? You talked about quantity of sleep. I'll be honest, I only get like 5 hours, but it's the quality for me that matters. And maybe I do need to get better at getting more, but how I get quality sleep is the inverse of how I start my day, right? I said light exposure was very significant at the beginning of the day. Well, light exposure is extremely important at the end of the day, because light stimulates the central nervous system. If you have that happening, you can't stimulate the parasympathetic, which I know we all know fight or flight, but rest and digest is what we want going into the nighttime. So we want that lower breathing rate, lower heart rate, lower body temperature. That allows the body to shut down and get us ready for REM. So reducing stress and getting quality sleep lead right into each other. Higher stress, I just want to go back on that one really quickly. Higher stress means higher cortisol. Cortisol isn't all bad, right? It's good, but chronic cortisol is bad. The thing with cortisol is it competes with testosterone. So when you have pulsatile cortisol, you have lower testosterone. When you have pulsatile testosterone, you have lower cortisol. It's about the balance, right? So having those habits at the end of the day, that's where I put mine, is important in optimizing those things. Stretching, mobility, meditation, whatever you want to do for your nightly routine, leading into that final piece and getting quality sleep. That's all I have on that. It's just those 5 items and the action items. I hope that that was some value to y'all, and you can use that in your life, your patients, your clients, and the people around you.
That was just excellent.
So Joe, I have a few points that you made that I really enjoyed. There's a Navy SEAL that wrote a book called Always Make Your Bed. And he said that's the first accomplishment you start your day on. So it seems like you know that one. Then I also listened to an article recently. You said weight training and compound muscle movement. So they actually said that we're not just a fatty society, we're under muscled society. And Brian Scott will tell you, skeletal muscle is definitely the key where our health lies. I mean, bottom line is we're underselling how much skeletal muscle plays an impact in our health. And then Cindy, you were the one that actually got me to start setting my alarm 30 minutes before I actually need to get ready to have some me time or meditation where the ME is capitalized. So it seems like he hit all those points we've talked about in previous weeks. So that's really cool.
Very, very cool. Any questions on what Joe shared with y'all? I thought that was fabulous. I love action steps. I love having the information and knowing what to do right away to do that. So I hope there's one action step y'all are going to take to just improve that a little bit better. Anybody have any specific questions to Joe or comments? All right.
I have a comment. I just want to thank you, Joe, for what you did. All your points are absolutely amazing. It's kind of what I teach to my clients. Having a morning routine is absolutely fantastic. My wife and I have been doing that, and I try to get my clients to do that. And even the processed foods, to encourage my clients to have an extra piece of fruit a day can sometimes be like twisting their arm. So you just nailed it. But the light exposure is something I've never focused on. That is very interesting. I'd like to dive more into that. So I just want to thank you. Those points they resonated very well.
If you like podcasts, there's a really good one by Andrew Huberman.
Okay.
He's a neuroscientist, and that's where I was first introduced to light exposure and the effect on kind of the hormonal side of things. It's very interesting, but he's a good resource. I can't remember what university he's at, but he's an active researcher in neuroscience.
Perfect.
I've listened to several of his podcasts. Brian, you would absolutely love it. You
Okay.
would absolutely love it. For sure.
Cool.
For sure. Anything else? All right. Well, then I guess it's my turn. So, there's nothing better that I like talking about than healthy lifestyle and healthy nutrition. And healthy nutrition is so much a part of our day. We eat it first thing in the morning, we eat during the day, and it has great impact on our health. So we know that if we don't eat healthy and we eat those high processed foods that are high in fat and high in sugar, then that causes inflammation in our bodies. And what that is associated with is a lot of lifestyle diseases. And who wouldn't want to prevent some lifestyle diseases like diabetes or heart disease or anything like that? So I want to give you some action steps, and I want to give you a great visual first of how you can make some simple changes in your nutrition and come out ahead and decrease inflammation, increase energy, and do all the things that you do throughout the day. So when I take out my trusty little chart here, if we could managing our blood sugars is one of the best ways to control inflammation in our body. And what you see here in this picture is the blue is the blood sugar spiking, and you can't see it so obviously, but the insulin is coming in behind it and saying, which insulin is our fat storage hormone, it's trying to level things out and get things back to homeostasis. So this is what highly processed food does to you. We don't want that, right? We want your blood sugars to look something like this, where it's fairly balanced and that our insulin is staying pretty darn balanced. And there's several simple ways of achieving this. Okay, so one of the things that I advocate with my clients, and there's a lot of science behind it, is simply taking your 3 meals a day that typical Americans eat and dividing those equally into 6 meals a day. So you don't even have to change what you're eating. Hopefully you're eating good foods, but even if you're eating some foods that aren't so healthy and you divide that into 6 meals, your body is going to be much happier. If you're looking for weight loss, you'll have more weight loss, and you'll also see a decrease in your cholesterol by 15% and your blood insulin levels up to 28%. So simply just changing the amount of times you eat in a day. And then looking at we look at the glycemic index, and what that is a number between 1 and 100 based on its effects of the blood and the blood sugar levels. So if you think about eating raspberries, the raspberries are very low glycemic foods. Cookies are high glycemic foods. Berries are low glycemic. Bananas and watermelon are high glycemic. And there's a lot of different thoughts around that, but it's one strategy that you could use to make good choices of maybe more low glycemic foods and less higher glycemic foods and balancing them out just right. So looking at 6 meals a day, portion control, and glycemic indexes in your food are just 3 things that you could take away right here and now and create more health with your nutrition. So we always talk about carbohydrates and we talk about fiber, and we like when fiber is attached to those carbohydrates, and as much fiber as you could find in those, the higher the fiber level, is a healthier carbohydrate that you're looking for. And fats, not all fats are evil. So there's some good fats, and we want you, it's a very important part of our nutrition. And what it does is it slows down our blood sugar level and it keeps us satiated. So when we eat things like avocados or black olives and our healthy fat sources, where at moderate amounts, we're actually doing really good things for our body. And then one of the tips that I like to give people too is protein. If you eat protein every time you eat, so 6 times a day, what that does is it takes more calories to digest and keeps you satiated for a longer period of time. So proteins and fats are very important parts of our nutritional profile. So that's it with the nutrition. And I think it was so nice that Joe really covered all the other aspects. So it's how we eat, how we sleep, how we hydrate, how we move, and making sure that you're moving every day. And how many hours are you spending behind a chair, sitting in a chair? Do lots of you sit at least 5 hours a day?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to challenge you today to be a little creative around that and get up and move. You know, I have a standing desk, you know, you get up to go to the restroom, you get up to, you know, go get something to eat. You know, attach some movement to that. You could easily drop, if you work from home, you could drop on the floor and do a plank. You could do a push-up, you could do sit-ups, you could do exercises in your chair, you could watch the posture in your chair, you could talk to people on the phone and move around as you're doing it in your office. So I challenge you to see how much you can move today without going to the gym. Okay, because most of us go to the gym and we work out for an hour, and that's very important exercise. But it's really important to see what we're doing on a daily basis in the approximate 12 hours or however many hours that you were awake. So are you up for the challenge?
Definitely. I refuse to be on the phone unless I can walk around.
Very cool. And Joe talked a lot about this, but practicing mindfulness, that morning practice, I think all of us health folks over here would tell you that if you could start your day being mindful and counting your wins from the day before, or looking at the wins that you want to create today and add that, it's so powerful, you know, practicing gratitude and really recognizing and celebrating yourself with your wins has tremendous effects on your mindset, and our mindset and our bodies cannot be separate. So, you know, my philosophy of coaching is I can't coach you on getting a healthy body if I don't coach you on getting a healthy mind at the same time, and vice versa. So I think there was like so much gold and gems in here today by both Dr. Romeo and Dr. Sanders and Joe and myself. I hope there's at least one thing you're going to take away today. And if you want to pop on and say, what's the one thing you're going to do better today as a result of attending, we would love to hear that. So if you're not shy and you'd like to do that, you know,
I'd have a question for you, Cindy. What's your opinion on getting those tests that you see online about cell inflammation on food, where they test you somehow for 1,000 different foods to see if that's giving you cell inflammation?
Well, I am not a resource on that. And I don't know if Dr. Sanders or Dr. Romeo have a better idea of that. Sometimes I'm leery of some of the things that are offered, but I don't have the information to give you facts on that. Anybody want to speak to that?
I personally don't know where the line between gimmick and medicine is on that. I'm sure, you know, allergists, immunologists, they're great at like figuring out what foods are not necessarily agreeing with your system and your biome. And, you know, I don't know if that's a good screening just to avoid. I mean, there's probably some to it, but at the end of the day, I'd put it in the hands of trusted professionals.
Anybody else have a question or want to share something that they might do a little bit different today because they showed up for themselves today?
I actually have a question. You guys are talking about getting blood tests and measuring our levels, our cholesterol, everything else. That's fantastic. What about, is there a test to test for hormones, where your hormone levels are? Let's say if I have a client that's not losing weight, but they're eating very well and their physical activity is up. Is there where the next recommendation is to see a doctor? So do you have any recommendations on that? Yeah.
So we at the urgent care have been increasingly asked to test for estradiol, DHEA, testosterone, thyroid, things like that. And we've been having people like yourself send us people to screen just to kind of see where we're at. And obviously Dr. Sanders would be more along the lines of to help, treat and follow the treatment, things like that. But as far as like lifestyle, it's always good to know where to focus. And Joe, I'm sure like I said, you see low testosterone, you'll want to shoot towards lifestyle, and then we can trend those numbers, tangentially, but lifestyle gets us so far, and that's when we would want to bring in primary care and things like that. So I think this is a good place to screen, get a better picture. The more information, the better for your clients. Lifestyle changes first, and then as they maximize what they're able to do against their genetics, that's when someone like Dr. Sanders would be a great resource.
Okay.
The habits that I mentioned can only do so much. There is a time for hormone replacement therapy, and if it comes to that, it comes to that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Cindy, this has been great. Thank you so much for putting this together, Joe. It's been awesome. I appreciate everyone that came. Dr. Sanders, thank you for joining us. It's always great to be respectful of everyone's time. I think I saw them writing down some notes. You'll have my email available. Cindy will send that out, and you can find us on Facebook and all that. So anytime you need to reach out, any follow-up questions, I'm here to help.
All right. Well, pretty awesome. Thanks again, everybody. And if anybody wants the information on glycemic levels of food, I'll be happy to share that as well. I got some pretty charts for you, and go out and be healthy and do good things. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Take care. Thank you all.
Cindy,
Bye-bye.
is there a way that you can share this recording?
Who just asked that?
That was Brian Scott. Brian, she'll send it to me and I'll have it linked on our website, but I'll also send you the link.
Perfect. Thanks.
Okay. And I'm happy to share it with anybody here. So just let me know. All right. Thank you.
Take
Bye-bye.
care, y'all.
Nice.
Bye.